So this is video number 15. We're talking about cults and scams and manipulation and deception and all of that kind of stuff. The information is out there. You can read books about cults for free. You can go to archive.org. Books by Stephen Hassan, Robert J. Lifton, all about cult brainwashing, thought reform, all these complicated words. But let's bring it back to sort of layman language. Some people, they just seem so far gone, you can't reason with them. You can't get through to them. Talking to them seems pointless. They've got their crazy ideas and their crazy ways, and it could have been somebody that you know and loved, and they just seem to have completely lost the plot, and what is it? I mean, for me, when I got recruited in my, I just left uni, just started work, and then I got recruited into a cult. My dad didn't know anything really about cults. He didn't warn me about cults because he'd never really experienced a cult to warn, people against the danger. It's the danger you don't see, that you're unaware of, that will get you, and so I don't think it's possible to prepare for any and every danger, any and every circumstance, and somehow survive. Because that's what we want to do. We want to survive. We want other people to do well in life, hopefully. But some people are so brainwashed you can't get through to them. But you can get through to them. This is the thing. The recruitment process that the London ICOC did to me, it's not dissimilar from Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or other types of cults out there. The ironic thing is, because of the internet, because of the increase of knowledge, if you like, the cult leaders are all the better at doing what they do. And they're very subtle. Sometimes you could be in a cult. In fact, absolutely, you could be in a cult and not know you're in a cult. You could be being used and conned and exploited and think you're part of God's kingdom. I mean, I was in that situation for 20 years. I thought it was from God. And you could say, well, how could you be so blind not to see what's going on? How could anyone be so stupid or ignorant as to join a cult in the first place? And then that very same person could get a telephone call from Asia and transfer their pension to some bank account on the say-so of some scammer. We're all vulnerable in one way or another. We trust people to do an honest job, and then they con us. A few months ago, I had a guy, I needed some work being done, and he gave me a price. And then he kept adding things onto it after he'd done the work, so I couldn't say no. He said, all right, this will cost you £1,000 to get this job done. Oh, okay, that's fair enough. And then he did the job, sort of, halfway, and then, oh, this needs doing and that needs doing. And I thought, you fucking wanker. You said it would cost £1,000. You looked at the work, and then you said it would be £1,000. One of these next generation 20, 30 something bastards who there's so many of these bastards around, aren't they? Just conning people. But that's the world we live in. The guy who conned me, out of some money for doing a job, he said, okay, this is the job, this will cost you, but he was very vague. And I was, well, here you go, here's the money, finish the job. Oh, it needs extra, it needs extra, it needs extra. Where did he learn that from? HS2 maybe? HS1? In the UK we have these multi-billion-dollar projects, and they keep kicking the ball along the road, they keep making excuses, they keep saying, oh, this needs done and that needs done. And the techniques that the con artists who are billionaires do are the same con artists, the guy who's conning you for 100 quid and 200 quid. It is the evil techniques that manifest themselves from the top of society, people like Boris Johnson, all the way through. Boris Johnson ruined the Houses of Parliament. All he ever did was blame everybody else apart from himself and never answer a straight question with a straight answer. I think Boris Johnson, I mean, it doesn't matter who it is, it could be Trump, Putin, whatever, but these people use these evil, clever, cunning ways to con the general public. And so no wonder we live in a time and a day and age where there's just so many of these evil, slimy things that they do just to get more money. You know, I had a friend and he lives in London and he says, oh, they're now wanting you to pay extra if your car is longer. And I thought, what the fuck is that about? It's just another government scam to get money out of you, isn't it? Yes, it is. You know. And the thing is, they get rewarded in government for conning more money out of the general public. And their punishment for conning people is to hire the same people who can't do the bloody potholes over and over again. Now, you might think, well, you're just ranting and raving at the moment. I am going to make a point, because when we live in a society where you're almost expected to get ripped off, it's like, oh, well, you know, usually food would go up once a year. Now food prices go up once a month. You know, it's like train fares. Oh, we haven't put up the prices. Yeah, because you really hiked them up the year before. They always figure out ways of conning you, whether it's government, whether it's religion, whether it's corporate. You know, the old Apple iPhones, that they had a connector that you couldn't replace the battery, which is a scam. You still can't replace batteries in iPhones. You know, and the social media giants, they don't care about kids seeing porn. You know, they want it to be normalised, because a lot of these people who run these social media people, they're some of the most satanic pornography type people you could imagine. Demon worshippers. And that's the world we find ourselves in. So how can you get through to somebody who might be in a cult, or who might be in a scam, a multi-level marketing group, a political cult, even a sales cult? Margaret Singer explains it in her video that she did about 40 years ago. It's the techniques that they use. And when somebody can understand how they've been conned, they'll walk away. And the thing about cults, most people leave within the first year. They don't necessarily know why they've left. They see some things going on, but if you've got a cult that uses 100 techniques to con people, right, and somebody leaves the cult because they've spotted one of those 100 techniques, yeah, they're still vulnerable to the other 99 techniques. I mean, I've known people who've left a cult. One of my friends in London, I call him the chess player. He's been in and out of this cult in London several times, right? And it's like, he sees one thing, oh, no, that's no good, or he feels guilty, and then he's back in it. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. You got conned by one technique, and then it's like, oh, I'm back in again. Well, you see, God wants me. God was testing me. Seriously. These are the sort of crazy things people say. I'm not saying my friend is stupid. He's not stupid. He's very good at chess. But when it comes to realising he's in a cult, he's as thick as two short planks, as I was. So, I mean, some people say, well, how can you get people who, they might even have a PhD and they're in a cult? Yeah, they got a PhD in something, but they're oblivious to the situation they're in terms of how they're being manipulated by some slimy devil behind the pulpit. So the more techniques you can educate people about, the more they're going to think, they're going to put it together. And they're going to think, well, hang on a minute, the leader does this. The leader has all this money. and he doesn't tell us we're poor, he's rich. That doesn't seem right. Or they covered up some kind of abuse to protect the kingdom from looking bad. People would leave the church if they found out about this abuse. That's why they cover it up. Well, that's a pretty sick and twisted way of thinking, isn't it? And it also allows them to cover up more abuse. So when somebody seems so far gone, if you argue with them, you're just going to push them further in. So you need to know how the person is being conned. And the more you know, the more you can help somebody. So that's why I say to people who they might know somebody who's in a cult, read ex-member stories, read books about cults. It's free. How many YouTube videos are there from ex-cult members? And it might not be the group that you need help with, but when you understand the dynamics of cults, how people are manipulated, how they're charmed, how they're indoctrinated, you will know enough to be able to rebuild the relationship with the person that you lost to a cult. I was lost to a cult within 2 weeks. They had me indoctrinated within 2 weeks. My dad was like, well, he thought it was a good thing at first. He thought, oh, he's going to church. Oh, he seems to be going to church a bit much. And then it took him 2 or 3 months to realise, hang on a minute, going to church every day is a bit odd. And then wanting to move in with them, and eventually he gave me this shit. He did all he could. He didn't know anything. A lot of parents won't educate their kids against dangers in society the parent is oblivious to. So, you're in that situation where you might need granddad to educate the kid because the parent doesn't know about the dangers. It is difficult. It is difficult, and I see an almost exponential descending into absolute chaos because these cults operate across international borders, which means to actually prosecute a cult, you might need several lawyers from several different nations to be all working together to prosecute a cult leader. So the only people who can prosecute a cult leader are governments, because they need the money to pay all these lawyers. So, it's almost like in nature. I was at a park yesterday and there was a swan, some swans and all their little offspring, and there was some ducks, and they'd bred. They had lots of little babies, but that probably half of those little baby swans and baby ducks are going to be eaten and killed within the first 2 or 3 months. These sweet little things will be dead, most of them, within a couple of months. But, nature can be pretty savage. But when you've lost somebody to a cult, it's like, oh God, what do I do? You need to get educated, which is why I recommend people read websites. I put it here, didn't I? Culteducation.com, Rick Alan Ross, freedomofmind.com, Stephen Hassan. There's lots of other experts out there, but where am I? Where's my notes gone? Oh, there we go. Yeah, one of the simple techniques that I find best is if you understand the step-by-step process of how somebody got into a cult, and you can actually tell them how they've been deceived, they're going to leave. They're going to leave because nobody wants to give money to a group that they think is from God and then they realise it's from the devil. They're not going to give money to the devil, are they? Well, there are some sick and twisted people that would do that, but generally people want to be good people, So I hope that helps.